Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Coding Academy where I help you through some free code camp challenges. Today we will be taking off at nesting for loops under the JavaScript algorithms and data structures. Now, let's get to it. Let's delete these because we want more room. If you have a multi-dimensional array, you can use the same logic as the prior waypoint to loop through both the array and any subarrays. Here's an example. So as you can see, we have an array, const r. Remember, const means, hey, keep this sucker as an array. It means we can still update and delete. We're just saying keep it as an array when we say const. And within this array, we have subarrays. So whenever you see these brackets, realize that it is most likely an array, and then if there are more brackets inside the outward brackets, these are subarrays. Now down here we have two for loops. First for loop is let I equal 0, so we declare a variable I and we set it equal to 0. Then we say, okay, I is less than r.length. The array r is what we're referring to, and referring to the length of r. And then we want to increment I. And then inside that for loop, we have for let j equal 0. We declare a variable called j, and then we store it with the value 0. And then we say, okay, j is less than r brackets I dot length j plus plus. And then we have console.log rij. It says this outputs each sub-element in R one at a time. Note that for the inner loop, we are checking the dot length of Ri since Ri is itself an array. So in easier terms of understanding, this refers to the first array, the outer array, this one right here. And then this for loop refers to the inner subarrays. So this one iterates through the outer array, which it's referring to the overall outer array. And this one, once again, refers to the inner array, so iterating from one array to the next. So r.length, remember, we are referring to the overall length of the whole outer array. In regards to if there were more, and then for let j equals 0, our I.length is saying, okay, inside the array, inside the subarrays, let's iterate through. So it says modify function multiply all so that it returns the product of all the numbers in the subarrays of R. So in this particular section, what do? We are checking the length of Ri, since Ri is itself an array, and it simply prints it. As you can see, console.log rij prints the array contents. It prints it because that's what console.log does, is it prints the output of the array right here so that everyone can see it. And if you want, you can also make this sucker bigger if you prefer. And now it's like, okay, now instead of just printing it, we want you to return the product of all the numbers in the subarrays of R. So over here we got our function called multiply all, and then we have R, which is not yet declared. And then we have a variable declared called product, and we store 1 into it, and then we're going to return product. So it wants us to return the product of all the numbers in the subarray of R. So here is a quick little trick that we can do. We can take this, and instead of outputting, we just change it to the product pudding. Not like actual pudding. Now I'm getting a little hungry, but you know what I mean. Alright, so we're going to start out with a for loop to do the outer section, referring to the iteration of what is on the outside. Because remember, if we have an outer array in inner arrays or an outer array in subarrays, we want to make sure we have two for loops, one for the outer and one for the subarrays. So we're going to do brackets, and then we're going to do new one. We have to declare a new variable to make it easier to differentiate the differences, because normally that's best practice and it's important so that the computer is not confused. So Ri refers to the subarrays. The subarrays.length refers to the overall. It's saying, hey, go to the end of the subarrays. That's what this means. .length is like, hey, go to the end. Don't stop at a particular point. And then we're going to hit it with that J++ as we have with the example. And we're going to do these. And then instead of counsel, I want you to think about it for a hot second. If we're going to return the product, which is just a fancy way of saying multiplication, and then we want to return it, the product of all the numbers, how do you think we're going to do that? Well, I'll give you a hint. If we can get a variable to store that number and then return that number where we stored all the product, which variable would you use? We'll give you a hint. Product is here. It already has a number that we can multiply with, and it's returned right here. So if you guess product, you are correctamundo. Now, I want you to consider, okay, product is what we're storing in. How can we multiply product by whatever number is in here? I'll let you think about that and give it a few seconds. And if you need to, look back at this example of referring to how to output the numbers. Try it out, see how it goes, maybe pause the video, and I'll give you the answer. Because remember, product is the multiplication. So that's why I have the multiplication symbol right there. And then we want to multiply everything. We want to iterate through through the outer. We want to iterate through the subarrays. We want to take each subarray and we want to multiply it by the product, which is 1. And we want to store that product. So then, if we do what we do, let's see what happens. It says multiply all 1, 2, 3 should return 6, because what are we doing? We have a outer array, as you can see with this outer one, and then a subarray 1, another subarray 2, and another subarray 3. 1 times 2 times 3 is 6, which gets stored into product and returned. And then if we have an outer array with 3 subarrays, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which returns 5040. And then we have an outer array with 1, 2, 3 subarrays, which returns 54. And if you want, you can take out a calculator and see how it's done, or you can just take the word that it does as it does. And remember, we took it and we stored it in product. Product times Rij. Because remember, this is the outer array, referring to the outer array, and then this is the subarrays, referring to the subarrays. And we take all that and we multiply it by what's already product, and then boom, we return the product. And remember, product gets changed. It doesn't stay as 1. That's why it's returning a different number, is that it's going through this and it's going to multiply the number based off of the multiplication of each of these products. So it's 2 times 3. It's not 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3. It's product times the outer array and the inner subarrays. So that's why we say 2 times 3 is 6, is because it's taking this and it's multiplying, and then it's storing into product. It's multiplying all of these, and then it's storing into product. The reason why we have 1 is so that we don't have an incorrect amount, because we just want to multiply what is within the subarrays. We don't want to create another number that isn't equal to the product of all these numbers. Alright everybody, hopefully that made sense, and if you're enjoying our videos, definitely like, subscribe, maybe even join our tiny cohort. But most of all, have a wonderful rest of the day. You deserve it. See you later.